So what I want to talk to you guys today is about this showcase and also a mindset that you'll use for the rest of your careers. And I want to start with a story. So another thing to know about me is I was a walk-on in college. I was a recruited walk-on and didn't get a scholarship. And that meant when I was a freshman, I was basically one of the throwaway guys, right? I could get better and maybe get some innings, or I could not get better and they didn't lose anything, right? They didn't invest any money in me. I was just an extra body. And a lot of times walk-ons at schools, they go that way. They don't see a way that they're going to get playing time, and maybe they don't get any better. They stay the low man on the totem pole, and nothing ever happens. But for me, and you guys can look at me right now, right? I'm in shape, right? I learned how to lift in college, but I was a right-handed pitcher. You know how many right-handed pitchers there are? Like 18 million, right? Doesn't mean you can't be a special right-handed pitcher, because you certainly can, but I'm a dime a dozen. Also, I'm barely 6 foot, right? How tall are most right-handers in the major leagues? 6'5"? The average major leaguer is like 6'3" these days. So I was an undersized right-handed pitcher, no scholarship money. I'm a pretty ordinary guy, right? And in my program, we were a very ordinary program. Didn't win a lot of games, not many guys moved on, and a lot of guys were okay with that. They just kind of wanted to get their degree, have a little fun playing baseball, but that wasn't really for me. So I want to tell you what my legacy at my school was. And this wasn't a legacy as like guy having a power fastball or the fastest guy that ever came through my school or anything like that. My legacy was the fact that I didn't want my career to end after 4 years. And you guys here today have a huge opportunity, right? A lot of scouts in attendance, they're sticking around. You guys got invited here from other performances or your other showcases. You guys, a lot of players can't come to this event, and you guys are chosen to be here. So my legacy in college was this. I went back, as alumni do, year in, year out, say hello to the coaches, see my strength coach who I was really close with, pal around a practice or two and see some of the guys. And one year, I think it was like my second or third year back, my head coach, he said, "Do you know what I tell players about you?" And I'm like, "I didn't know you told them anything about me." He said, "No, when I go around to new recruits, there's a story I tell them, and it's about you." And so my freshman year, I knew that I was one of the last guys on the depth chart, and I didn't like it. I know the freshmen sit the bench, but I didn't like it. I know that freshmen aren't expected to do much, but I still didn't like it. And so I mapped out my week. I was going to be in the gym. I was going to run. I had extra workouts. I was doing arm care at home, pitching drills at home. I had a lot of stuff that I needed to get done because if I didn't get innings in the game, I still needed to get better that day. And when you're trying to be fresh for a Tuesday night game that you might pitch in, you can't be in the weight room that morning. You got to do stuff after the game potentially. So on one ordinary Tuesday night, I was hoping I would get innings, but I didn't. And I walked up to my head coach as everyone's cleaning up the field because we weren't a big enough program to have a grounds crew. And I said, "Hey, coach, I really want a long toss tonight. I know it's 10:30, but could you leave the lights on for me so I could long toss for 20 minutes? And he said, yeah, sure. So I found a buddy who didn't really want a long toss, but he took a bucket out, and I'd throw to him. He'd catch it, collect it, put it in the bucket. Got my work in for the night. That's what I wanted to do. If I was going to pitch, I got my work in. And if I didn't pitch, I wanted to get my work in. And so I got my long toss in. And after that freshman year, I went from being an 80 to 83 guy to an 85 to 87 guy. And then the next year I was an 88 to 90 guy. And then the next year I was 89 to 92 guy. And it wasn't some magical happening. Do you know what it was? It was, "Hey, coach, leave the lights on for me." And that, he told me, was my legacy. I didn't know that. So with all you guys here, this showcase might go really well. And you might really put yourself on the map, right? It also might not go as well because pitchers are trying to strike out hitters and hitters are trying to get hits off pitchers, right? This is a little bit of a zero-sum game. But what I want you all to know is, and what I'm especially thinking about tomorrow, is that today will not define your career. Your career is not hanging in the balance today. And when you take the field with this feeling that I have to perform today, you start to really shrivel up and you start to get tense and you don't perform as well, right? So I want to challenge all of you tomorrow to come back really loose, knowing that no matter what happens, you can still be that guy. You can still be a coach, leave the lights on for me kind of guy. Because if you do that, you will get better every day, every week, a little bit. And as the months and the years pile on, you're going to look back and be like, wow, I'm this big, strong guy that that other people will look up to. When I was a freshman, I looked up to our seniors. And then one day, I was that same big, strong guy throwing hard that they looked up to, that the new freshmen looked up to, and that my coach told the incoming freshmen about. And so no matter what happens today, you guys can be that leave the lights on guy. And I tell you that not to brag, but because that was completely within my control. I'm not tall, I'm right-handed, I injure easily, I'm made of paper mache apparently, but I controlled what I could control, and that was my work ethic and not squandering the limited time that we have. All of you, I'm sure, know that every year there's a younger guy coming up who wants your job. And when I was in pro ball, you're very aware of that if I pitch bad for a while, coach is fielding phone calls from players who want to come take my job. And if I pitch bad long enough, he starts to listen, right? And then I get replaced. There's always younger people coming up. And so you need to feel that fire, not because you don't want to get replaced, but because you want to see how good you can be. And no matter what happens today, and no matter what happens tomorrow, you still have complete control of your career by your work ethic, your attitude, and finding new ways to get better. You'll have lots of obstacles like I did with my elbow. You'll have to think harder and find new ways to bounce back from that.